All right, today we're jumping into a pretty provocative YouTube video from the channel Psyche Depth. It makes some really bold and, let's be honest, controversial claims about female psychology. Now, our goal here is simply to break down the key arguments the video makes so we can understand the perspective it's putting out there. So, right out of the gate, the video throws down the gauntlet with this line. It's a pretty clear signal that the creator intends to challenge everything you thought you knew about attraction and relationships. Okay, so here's our game plan for breaking this all down. We're going to start with what the source calls the central misunderstanding. Then we'll get into its core analogy about emotion, this idea of an attraction paradox, how it views communication, the challenges of modern dating, and finally what it lays out as the rules of the game. The whole argument really kicks off with this one big idea. The video claims that men make a fundamental mistake by trying to analyze women with pure logic, when, it argues, women are operating from a totally different emotional playbook. So the source paints this picture, right? You've got men acting like detectives, poring over a text message for clues, trying to figure out the hidden meaning. But the video argues that for the woman who sent it, that text was just a snapshot of how she felt in that exact moment, a feeling that might be totally gone an hour later. It's a clash between deep analysis and an immediate emotional reaction. Okay, so building on that idea, the video introduces this really central analogy to explain its whole perspective on female emotion. And here it is. The argument is that a woman's mood, her interest level, it all fluctuates based on a million tiny things. Stress at work, something a friend said, hormones, you name it. And most of it has absolutely nothing to do with her partner. The source claims that trying to logic your way into changing her mood is like trying to argue with a thunderstorm to make it stop. You can't. This leads to a really key concept the video cooks up, called the retrospective narrative principle. Now, that sounds complicated, but the idea is actually pretty simple. The feeling happens first, and the logical reason for it gets built afterwards to justify it. And this slide really just lays it out perfectly. Step 1, an emotion pops up. Attraction, annoyance, whatever. Step 2, the brain immediately creates a story to make sense of it. So according to this theory, it's not, he's confident, therefore I'm attracted. It's, I feel attraction, so he must be confident. The feeling is the engine, and the reason is just the caboose. So all of this naturally leads us into what the source calls a huge paradox right at the heart of attraction. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. The video creates this split between what it claims women say they want, the reliable, kind, stable guy, and what it claims actually triggers that gut feeling of attraction. Things like challenge, a bit of mystery, and a man who is totally secure in himself. And the video just boils this whole idea down into one punchy, provocative rule. It argues that the more you seem to need her approval, her validation, or her attention, the less attractive you actually become. From there, the source takes this argument and applies it to communication itself, basically suggesting that men and women are often speaking two totally different languages, even when they're using the exact same words. And this chart really gets to the heart of it. The video claims that when men hear a problem, their instinct is to solve it. It's about exchanging information to find a fix. But, it argues, when a woman shares a problem, she's often looking for connection and validation. She wants you to understand how the problem makes her feel, not just give her a 5-step plan to solve it. This brings us to the whole idea of subtext. The video asserts that the real message is often hidden in the tone, the body language, the stuff around the words. It's that classic "I'm fine" example, right? The source claims a man hears the literal words, "I'm fine," but completely misses the emotional data in her tone that's screaming, "I am absolutely not fine." Okay, so how does the source apply all these principles to the wild, and let's face it, often confusing world of modern dating? First up, it points to choice paralysis. The idea here is that dating apps present an endless buffet of options, which makes it incredibly difficult to ever feel satisfied or to commit. There's always that little voice wondering if someone even better is just one more swipe away. Then the video presents a pretty controversial claim it calls the wall. As this chart shows, the argument is that a woman's peak attractiveness and number of dating options hits in her early 20s. For a man, the video claims his value in the dating market tends to start lower but peaks in his 30s and beyond. This, in the source's view, creates a fundamental timing mismatch. Now, the video leans really heavily on this concept of hypergamy to explain how women choose partners. It defines it as this sort of deep-seated unconscious drive to seek partners who are equal to or preferably above them in different hierarchies. The source uses this to explain why it thinks highly successful women often report having a hard time finding a man who meets their standards. So, where does this all lead? What's the ultimate conclusion here? Well, the video boils everything down to a set of what it calls the rules of the game. And here are some of those key triggers the video lays out. You've got pre-selection, the idea that a man is more attractive if other women desire him. Scarcity, meaning your value goes up the less available you seem. It emphasizes emotional memory. She'll remember how you made her feel long after she forgets the words you said. And it also proposes this dual mating strategy, being attracted to one type of man for excitement and another for long-term stability. And this is presented as the final piece of the puzzle. The source argues that all the tests, the drama, the challenges, it's all part of an unconscious search for emotional safety. It's about finding a partner whose strengths she can trust so completely that she can, in the video's own words, surrender to his lead. And the video leaves its viewers with this final thought. It doesn't tell you how to act. Instead, it presents its perspective as a kind of map to the psychological territory. The source's final message is that once you understand these rules, you can decide for yourself how you want to navigate the game. And that's our breakdown of the perspective presented by PsychDepth.